Hello, thanks for joining us. Today, the Netflix debate rears its head again as the super pig movie Okja becomes available, and a trip back in time with Sean Connery and Tippi Hedren as Marnie is re-released. Welcome to today's film show.
I took nature and science and I synthesized.
La France, je pense, c'est toujours le pays où il y a le plus de salles de cinéma. La question qui se pose aujourd'hui, c'est est-ce que ça, c'est une valeur chérissable, j'allais dire? Est-ce que c'est quelque chose qu'il faut défendre? Ou est-ce que c'était un accident de l'histoire?
Tu sais, c'est avec ce camion que je pars partout dans le monde. T'es partante?
Je suis toujours partante si on va vers des paysages simples, vers des villages, vers des visages.
You don't love me. I'm just something you've caught. You think I'm some kind of animal you've trapped.
And we're joined in the studio by our film critic Lisa Nesselson. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Eve.
Now, we're going to start with a film that was part of what was dubbed the Netflix controversy at Cannes this year. Now, the Korean film Okja premiered in the festival's competition, but from this week, it's available to stream on Netflix for subscribers. But it won't be shown in French cinemas, which is what all the fuss was about.
There certainly was a lot of fuss, and I'm going to try and elucidate why and why the fuss was misguided in the English-speaking world. So everybody wrote about how, oh, France is so old-fashioned and retrograde, and they need to get with the program, and people want to see what they want to see, when they want to see it, and all this business of saying, oh, you must go to a movie theater is just incredibly dépassé. You know, movie theaters served us well for about 100 years, but let's get real. I would rather watch this on my cell phone. So they thought that was what it was about. And two films, Okja, which is coming out today, and the Meyerowitz stories, were given 2 of the 19 competition slots in the Cannes Film Festival this year, which means they're up for awards. And the French film industry went nuts and said, wait a minute, we have nothing against film streaming on television or whatever device, but they shouldn't be eligible for awards on the same playing field if you're not going to permit them to be shown in movie theaters. Why is that? Because the entire French film industry relies on a system which I think is absolutely brilliant. It's called an ecosystem in which every time anyone goes to buy a theater ticket in a movie theater, a little bit of that ticket's price goes into a big fund to make French movies. And it doesn't matter whether you're buying a ticket to a French movie, a Romanian movie, a big American film, a small Spanish film, a little bit of that ticket goes into a fund to finance movies. And Netflix is saying, no, we're not interested with that. We're not going to make our 2 movies in Cannes this year available to people. We're just going to drive around that toll booth and keep all the money for ourselves and make it available to people. So the only people who will ever be able to see it on a big screen are the people who happen to be at the Cannes Film Festival this week, and not only that, it's a movie that deserves a big screen.
Okay. Well, let's have a look at a clip from the film.
I took nature and science and I synthesized.
Well, aside from all the controversy, we actually love this movie, don't we?
It's absolutely a movie, and I think everyone knows what I'm talking about when I say that. It's gloriously visual. You need to see things larger than life, not, you know, on a tiny gizmo. So it's terrific that Netflix subscribers all over the world will be able to see it, but it would be even more terrific if people would also have the option of seeing it in movie theaters. So I would say here in France, Netflix attitude will make sense when digital pigs fly.
Okay, well, out in French theatres, actually in cinemas, is a very low-key French documentary called Macadam Popcorn. It stars the cartoonist Mathieu Sapin, who drives to mostly small towns in France to visit independently run movie theatres and the people who keep them going. Tell us more.
Now, you called it low-key. It's also meandering, but that's actually an affectionate term, literally. The protagonists have what a friend of mine would call a charisma bypass, but that doesn't really matter because what they're doing is what matters. Cartoonist Mathieu Sapin, a friend who does most most of the driving, they go to French cities that are well known, such as Lyon, Avignon, Montpellier, Le Havre, and also much smaller towns with quaint names. And they speak to the intrepid individuals who run an independent cinema there, usually handling everything from programming films to washing the floors to selling the tickets to advising people on what they might enjoy. Their devotion is inspiring and contagious. Let's take a look.
La France, je pense, est toujours le pays où il y a le plus de salles de cinéma. La question qui se pose aujourd'hui, c'est est-ce que ça c'est une valeur chérissable, j'allais dire, est-ce que c'est quelque chose qu'il faut défendre, ou est-ce que c'était un accident de l'histoire, et puis point.
Oui, il faut qu'il y ait des cinémas. C'est un lieu de convivialité, c'est un lieu de rencontre, c'est un lieu de culture, de divertissement.
9h, 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 9h. Il est 20h là. Mais on n'a qu'à boire un coup.
La France est un pays où les distributeurs, les exploitants ont une grande connaissance du cinéma. Je crois que c'est un pays unique. J'ai beaucoup voyagé dans le monde. Il n'y a rien de comparable et c'est normal qu'on ait le plus grand festival de cinéma au monde, qui est le Festival de Cannes.
Well, they certainly seem very serious about film as an art form that brings people together.
Well, they acknowledge that it's an art form, but also that it's fun to go to the movies. If you're seeing a scary movie and everyone gasps at the same time, or it's a comedy and everyone laughs at the same time, not one person interviewed in this movie is in it strictly for the money. And they're simultaneously so ordinary and yet so special in their devotion that it's really quite touching. One place is in fourth-generation family management. The woman now running it declares that cinema is indispensable. That's her creed, and she really believes it. One is closing the original, slightly scruffy theater so they can move into fabulous new quarters that the regional council has paid for. One movie theater is in a deconsecrated church with really bizarre architecture. And at the Cinema Viking in Saint-Lô, the manager says he's been known to tell customers who are hesitating, I'll tell you what, go in, see the movie, and if you like it, pay me on the way out. If otherwise, it's my treat. I don't think you're going to find that treatment in, big chains. There's nothing better for a country than to have unpretentious access to the maximum number of interesting movies. And in these little outposts, these people are keeping that alive. And it's part of what I spoke about previously. That is possible because people can make a living showing movies because of this virtuous circle, this ecosystem that makes it possible to show movies in theaters, then move along to showing them on video, DVDs, then show them on television, and then show them on streaming.
OK, well, speaking of art out on the road, for the benefit of everyone, out in France this week is another documentary co-directed by Agnes Varda and JR, the artist. They're both one of a kind. What's Faces, Places or Visages Villages like?
Oh, it's sublime, it's touching, it's funny. And like you said, only these two individuals could have come anywhere near making this final film, which is just delightful. Agnes Varda, as a reminder, was born in Belgium back in 1928, and she's done things her way her entire life. She started out as a photographer, began making films. She had no real training, fiction and documentary, and she's been doing incredibly interesting art installations for the past 15 years or so. Youngster JR was born near Paris in 1983, yes. So this friendship, there are about 50 years difference between them. His artistic approach is to take photographs of ordinary people, enlarge them, and paste them onto structures. You may have seen some of his work outdoors for all to see. So he's making the whole wide world a potential museum. JR and Agnes spent roughly 2 years. Once a month, they'd go out on the road together in his specially outfitted truck, which is a photo studio, and you'll see in our clip also spits out actual enlargements. And then with ladders and paste and large surfaces and everybody pitching in, it adds up to larger-than-life art. They trust in happenstance and serendipity and their own artistic sensibilities, and they stumble upon people who are each, in their own way, absolutely extraordinary. So it's a series of improvisations, human connections captured on film. For me, it's outstanding in every way. Let's take a look.
Tu sais, c'est avec ce camion que je pars partout dans le monde. T'es partante?
Je suis toujours partante si on va vers des paysages simples, vers des villages, vers des visages.
Les gens y rentrent à l'arrière, comme dans un photomaton, et la photo sort dans les 5 secondes sur le côté, en grand format.
Un facteur, c'est important dans le village.
On y va, on part par là-bas!
JR répond à ce que je souhaite le plus. Les visages que je rencontre, les photographier, pour qu'ils ne tombent pas aussitôt dans les trous de ma mémoire.
That was a clip from Visages Villages, or Faces, Places as we're calling it in England. Now, unlike most countries, cinemas in France keep the classics alive. This is a real France promotion show today, isn't it? And re-released this week is Alfred Hitchcock's Marnie from 1964, starring Tippi Hedren and Sean Connery. Tell us more.
Well, the official title is Marnie, but I've always loved the French title, which is Pas de printemps pour Marnie, which translates as no springtime for Marnie, which could be taken to mean it's no picnic being Marnie, or when spring rolls around and all the forest animals are sort of going at it, Marnie isn't. Why do I say that? Because it's about a beautiful but sexually frigid woman who has a nasty habit of stealing money from her employers. And she also seems to hate men. And she may have excellent reasons for being a thief who can't stand men, but she's never gotten to the bottom of it. When she runs into Sean Connery, whose character is a great believer in psychology, he decides to try and figure out what's poisoning her existence. The wonderful Tippi Hedren made 2 films with Alfred Hitchcock. One is The Birds, then she made this because Grace Kelly wasn't available. And in Macadam Popcorn at the end, you saw the prominent French film critic Michel Simon. And in that film, he says that he's surprised at his age that he'll go to present a film and he'll think everyone's seen it. And he'll find out, okay, how many people have never seen Stanley Kubrick's 2001, and 40% of the audience will raise their hands. So he's saying it's very important to keep the classics alive, which they absolutely do here in France. I first saw Marnie on TV as a teenager, and in my wisdom, I thought it was kind of dull and stupid. I had the privilege of seeing it again, 35mm, huge screen, with Tippi Hedren in attendance at the Vienna International Film Festival 2 years ago, and I'm here to say it's a wonderful, interesting film. Go see it if you have a chance.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Now we're going to leave you with Marnie. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
You don't love me. I'm just something you've caught. You think I'm some kind of animal you've trapped.
That's right, you are. And I've caught something really wild this time, haven't I? I've tracked you and caught you, and by God, I'm going to keep you.